Hey, my friend, I want you to know that deep inside you are resilient, brave, and so much stronger and more powerful than your fears. I want you to know that because I know you are planning something big. I know you are working on something that is really important to you. You wrote down plans and you're visualizing what you want to create and experience in your life. And fears arise. You've experienced those fearful negative thoughts that are kinda pulling you back and you don't know what to do with them. And the answer is that you don't need to do anything with them. As much as you're sensing them, you can decide, will you follow them or will you form a sense of faith through them? It's always your choice, and it's actually your responsibility, because if you truly want to experience the life that you are planning to experience, then you need to refocus your attention to faith, from fear to faith, because these both two things are made up. Something I mentioned to you yesterday. Fears are made up, but also faith is made up. But whatever we choose to believe usually becomes our reality. If not materially, at least mentally. We start to believe that that's how life works, right? And when we focus on faith, on faithful thoughts, faithful beliefs that you are capable of, that what you're working on is possible, that you're protected, that you're divinely guided, that there's a seed of potential for whatever you desire within you. And when you take some intentional actions and then you make sure that you stay in balance so you don't burn out, eventually you will get there. If not where you're planning to be, even somewhere greater. So I just want to remind you, as a kind friend, that deep inside you are resilient, which means that you can adapt to any situation, which means that if you're dealing with certain crisis right now, you can adapt to present situation and accept what's happening right now. You don't need to deny it. You don't need to ignore it. You don't need to blame yourself for anything. Adapt to what's happening right now and go through that suffering. It's not easy. And I know that it's not easy because I've been through that as well. And we all have been through it, especially if you're working on success at anything. If you haven't been there, eventually you will be there, because we need to move through whatever kind of suffering is meant for us, so we build a muscle that can help us to appreciate the good things when good things starts flowing. So remember that your resilience, the capacity of resilience that's within you, will help you to move through whatever you're moving through right now. And if you keep the faith, and if you keep up with your work, no matter what's happening, if you keep up raising your thoughts, building a greater level of pattern recognition, so you recognize what kind of actions are not serving you anymore, you will eventually develop healthier ones. And don't be afraid to fail on that process, because you will. I know for myself, changing habits is never easy. Never. Changing diet, changing the way we think, changing our beliefs, changing the way we express ourselves, getting used to setting boundaries, learning to say no and things like that. Those things are never easy, especially at the beginning when we start building up a new lifestyle. And it doesn't need to be easy, but we also don't need to force anything. Like, we don't need to pretend that we are okay when we are not okay. We just need to accept that that's all a part of the process. So work on acceptance, but keep up taking action. When you fail, Well, take a rest if you need it. Rejuvenate. Take care of self-care. Make sure that you're taking great care of yourself, but then get back up and go on. Something I've learned from my failures in life, and there was many of them on this YouTube channel, in my personal life, especially at building new habits. I failed so often. For example, with working out, I've developed a momentum and then something happened and I've broke the momentum and I needed to start again and I felt like a failure. And when it happens once, it's okay, but when it happens 10 times, you start to think like you're not capable of maintaining momentum, right? And it happens in forming new beliefs, because I'm coming from a family where my mother was like a chronic negative thinker. And when I was a little kid, I was kind of surrounded with that negative mentality. And I haven't noticed that until I got a bit older, and I've noticed, well, I'm constantly negatively thinking about myself. And my dad was kind of similar. Still, sometimes it happens when I'm excited about something and I share some great news with them. Usually, the first feedback I receive is like, "Hey, you need to be careful with that," and something negative after that. So we need to get used to keep up with changes, keep up with transformation, because I've learned that my environment is like a gym for improving my character. But more I've started to finding my own inner worth, more I've started attracting new people that are on the same level. And when we meet those new people, we recognize, well, we are all dealing with similar challenges. But meeting those new people and building new communities and building new circles where we feel accepted, where we feel supported, where we feel like we're all working on a mission. I only have friends who are working on a mission. And those are my real friends. All the friends that I have are working on a mission. And when I connect with them, when we're hanging, we're inspiring each other, we're uplifting each other. But it only happened because at some point in the past I've noticed what kind of people are not for me, with what kind of people I don't want to waste my time, right? And as I mentioned before, I want to tell you what I've learned from failures. I've learned that every time I fail, like I lose the momentum, I break the healthy habit and I fall into some old ones and I catch myself. If I reflect on why I broke the healthy habit and have fallen into the unhealthy one, if I truly reflect on that and write down exactly and precisely what happened, like what thoughts started kind of controlling my behaviors, what kind of emotions initiated those actions, like how I felt. So I started doing something from my past. How I felt, what triggered me? What was the urge that called me back into those old roots, old habits? And I write it down and I truly reflect on that. And I ask myself, what will I do next time when it happens? And that's growth, right? Isn't it? That's growth, noticing what we don't want to do anymore and how will we change it. That's our inner resilience, a power to adapt, to accept, so we can change. So don't be afraid of those failures. I know they are so unpleasant. They're so unpleasant that we rather quit at whatever we are planning and we start blaming ourselves. We fall into that process of self-pity And we want to be stuck, and we become lazy, we become bored, we lose meaning for anything. It happens. Sometimes it happens. But I want to remind you that it's okay if that happens, because you are not perfect. And it's all a part of the process. We just can't skip that. Of course, as we start expanding our level of self-awareness, we'll recognize sooner when we're kind of falling into those old habits, and we'll be able to catch ourselves before we completely fall down, and we'll be able to redirect our actions. So self-awareness is a key, so we can start recognizing our daily patterns. It's called pattern recognition. But I just want to remind you that all the plans that you have, all the goals that you have, they are possible because you are much stronger and more powerful than your fears. All of that is possible. And you just need to keep up. When you fall, recharge when you need. Because sometimes, we don't want to walk around with those holes in the soul. When something hurt you, you can reflect on that. You can talk with somebody that may help you to understand better what you're moving through. And then next time, be a bit more aware, not just more careful. Because life is so wide, right? So many unpredictable things may happen. But if we stay aware, we may observe ourselves how we are responding differently this time. Like anxiety is such a great thing to work on. In the past, I thought that anxiety is like a curse. When I feel anxious about something, well, it's so bad because sometimes it feels like my brain freezes and I don't. Or I can't express myself fully authentically. But then I've learned to work on that. Like sometimes if we're not fully used to do something, we'll feel anxious about it. Like at the beginning of when I've started making these videos, I felt anxious in front of the camera, and now it's for me like a second nature. And when I've started working with people at the beginning, I was a bit anxious because I was not sure if I will be able to provide the right information to that person. But later I've noticed through experiences that we always receive what that person needs to hear, right? So we develop a sense of trust. And trust can be developed only when we are willing to be without it. That's how we develop trust. That's how muscle can be developed. So anxiety is a great thing that inspires us to work on what we feel anxious about. Like if you're anxious about hanging with people, start hanging with more unknown, unfamiliar people. Like go into a certain place where you don't know anyone and just start some small interactions. Like, hey, what's going on? How are you doing? Start some small interactions and you will feel anxious about it until you will recognize that it's not so scary. And eventually you will build a skill. Like a skill of communication. Your social skills will rise and you will start to feel more confident about yourself. Confidence is the same. Confidence can only grow when you're willing to be without it. It's same with everything, right? So know that the goals that you have right now, the visions that you have, the financial goals, whatever it is, relationship goals, all those things will happen, but most often those things happen once we become a version of ourselves that naturally believes that it's already ours. And belief is not just something we make up inside of our minds and we hope that now it will happen in reality. Beliefs are formed firstly mentally, like repeating certain new thoughts, but then also taking action. Like if you're saying to yourself that you're abundant, that you're rich, start taking rich actions. What's the difference between poor actions and rich actions? Well, a rich person is productive. A rich person has well-organized lifestyle. So a rich person is usually taking care of his or her body, taking care of his or her diet, taking care of his or her sleeping cycles, taking care of his or her mindset, reading the right books, meditating, taking care of his or her spiritual health. And a rich person is nurturing relationships, always learning about social skills and how to interact with people. And a poor person is usually just using what he or she has for distraction. So most of the time, a poor person has poor habits, poor thoughts, poor actions. And a rich person is a reflection of what I mentioned. And if you want to become richer, if you're really working on that mindset and lifestyle of richening up your life, you see what you need to work on. And if you will work on, you will become a manifestation of that belief. You will embody those thoughts, and once you will embody those thoughts, you will see that your life will start reflecting that. Of course, it's not just mental process, it's not just mindset. Life is much more complex, but it starts with our thoughts. It starts with awareness of where we are right now. That's why I mentioned to you that deep inside of you, there's a great capacity of resilience, and you need to learn to tap into it. When you feel triggered, when you feel like your life is not going the way you would like it to be, know that that level of resilience will help you to get back on track and find out what you've been missing all the time. We don't need to read hundreds of books. Sometimes we need 3 main books that we are reading them over and over again, or whatever it is. Sometimes I go and watch my older videos to remind myself of something that I forgot. We're constantly, forgetting and learning and relearning and remembering and so on, right? It's all a process until we know better. And once we know better, we also start behaving differently. So it's just a process of upgrading ourselves. And that's ascension, right? That's how we start ascending. Because you may see some people are easily ascending vibrationally, but you don't know their past. So if you're comparing yourself with somebody who's easily ascending on any kind of a level, you may be doing a big mistake, because if you've been through something traumatic and that person was not, for that person it may be much easier to work on any kind of changes. But your muscle and a level of resilience eventually will become much, much stronger of the person who was not through something traumatic. Which means that your life purpose may be much, much bigger than of that person. We don't truly know that, but usually it is like that. People who are making the biggest impact on this world have been through the hardest possible challenges. So it makes sense that if you've been through something hard, it means that something great is waiting you in the future. but you need to get there. So I'm that kind, warm friend here on your journey, and I hope you find something valuable here, right? Because we are all exchanging this kind of experiences, a bit different, unique to ourselves, but we all experience similar emotions. So we all kind of know how something feels like. And because of that, we can help one another. And that's the art of living, uplifting each other, right? Providing the tools that helped us, that helped me, so I can tell you what works and what doesn't work, or what worked for me at least, and what may work for you as well. So, my friends, all is well. Accept everything, but never lose faith. This is it for today. I'm sending you lots of love, blessings, and power. Stay magnificent, stay creative, and I hope you've enjoyed in today's artwork. Till next time, one love.